In this video, we will address the requirement to describe the impact of the stakeholder engagement process. The video is not a complete review of all stakeholder engagement requirements applicable to the development of an LCAP, which stands for Local Control and Accountability Plan. The LCAP template instructions provide more information, including a reference to applicable statutes and regulations. The stakeholder engagement section of the LCAP has two parts. In the previous video, we looked at the first part, which is where a local educational agency, commonly referred to as an LEA, describes the process it uses to engage with stakeholders. The second part, which we will briefly cover in this video, is where an LEA describes the impact made on the LCAP by the stakeholder engagement process. The purpose of this part of the stakeholder engagement section is to demonstrate that the LEA has genuinely thought about the feedback received from stakeholders and is acting on this feedback in a manner that best serves all students. It is crucial to distinguish between the two parts of the stakeholder engagement section. The first part addresses an involvement process, while the second part addresses the impact of this process. Engaging stakeholders in a process of involvement to gather feedback about the development of the LCAP does not necessarily mean that stakeholders have had an impact on the LCAP. Translating stakeholder engagement into meaningful impact on the development of the LCAP is a process all its own. An LEA's stakeholder involvement process, as described in the first part of the stakeholder engagement section, might include several different meetings with a variety of stakeholder groups, a survey that is open to the whole community, and targeted focus groups on specific topics of concern. Such a process will generate an abundance of useful information. One way of framing the question about stakeholder impact is to ask about the impact this information has on the LCAP. What connections, if any, can be made between what an LEA learns through a stakeholder involvement process and what an LEA plans to implement in the LCAP? For example, the information gathered through the stakeholder involvement process might show that parents are more concerned about school safety than the LEA had previously assumed. When addressing stakeholder impact, an LEA might briefly describe how school safety is being addressed in the LCAP as a result of what the LEA learned through the stakeholder involvement process. In other cases, an LEA might learn of stakeholder concerns or wishes that raise important issues but may not be directly addressed in the LCAP. For example, what if stakeholders overwhelmingly support an investment that would be too impractical to implement or is not in the best interest of all students? An LEA's leadership will want to address the underlying issues behind this support, while also explaining how such an investment is not in the best interest of the district and its students over the long term. There are many different ways in which the stakeholder involvement process can impact the LCAP. Sometimes it might be as simple as including a service in the LCAP that was requested by stakeholders. At other times, impact might be a matter of addressing the reasons why certain services are not included in the LCAP. For additional questions regarding the content of this video and/or questions related to the development of the LCAP, please email lcff@cde.ca.gov.